Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Everquest Old School. And on this episode, we are playing my Cleric, and we are in Crushbone, but we're inside the throne room. This is a really good room to be in. We're actually at level 13, so I'm going to get past that to level 14. And once we get to level 14, I will get my new level heal spell, along with a few other spells as well. And then we're going to go off to Unrest, and you get to see a whole another zone. Hopefully pretty soon here, because I don't like level 13. I don't like the number, so I try to power through it as quick as possible. So we probably will get through it tonight. Granted, these videos are uploaded, one at a time every day, so that you guys will have something constant to watch when you get from home from school or from work or wherever it is that you are coming home from on an average daily basis. But I do appreciate you guys watching, and I love it when you guys actually respond and tell me you guys would like to see this or that. Kevin actually responded and said he wanted to see the Crystal Caverns, and I will eventually get there and show you guys what the Crystal Caverns are. It's a very, very cool looking zone. In fact, I enjoy a great deal. I remember in the old days when I was playing, when it first came out, and we got to the Crystal Caverns. I was actually in that zone when I found out my brother was going to have for his first kid. So I definitely have fond memories of that area. And, it's a really cool looking zone to boot, but it's going to be some time before I get there. But I also understand that there are zones that you guys have fond memories of as well that you want to see. And maybe some of them aren't as high level, so I'll be able to get to them a lot sooner. And we are now starting to pick up a little bit of speed with our level. The lower levels are kind of slow because groups are sometimes hard to find, and then when you do find one, because you are so low, the people you find them with don't always stay for very long. So at higher level, I remember there were some groups I would get into like Seb that would go on for like 6 or 7 hours, and you'd get quite a bit of experience and loot in those groups before you had to go off and find another group. And finding groups is the slow part. That's really the work that you have to put in to get the reward, which is the experience of the group. Once you finally get a group that's going, that's when the fun really starts to happen. Because when you're trying to look for a group, depending on your class, who's on that day, what time of the day you're getting on, things of that sort, you could literally be looking for a group for hours. And that's no fun for anybody. I mean, that's why they came up with like mercenaries and things of that sort in future games for like Everquest 2 and even later expansions for Everquest 1, so that people who couldn't find a group could at least still go off and do something by themselves. I understand the reasoning behind it. I've just never been a huge fan of mercenaries because I've always felt that it took away from the making of groups. If you can go off and do things by yourself rather than sit there and look for a group, that means less people are looking for a group, and therefore less people can get into one and find one and form one, and it really ultimately became a solo game with all the changes they made, and there was really no reason for you to be in a group other than maybe 1 or 2 people, each having their own mercenary, and you would just go off with a good friend and go to different zones and things of that sort. And I don't know, some of the greatest times I had in this game were with people that I had no clue who they were, and I'm just grouping with them for the first time, and they turn out to be incredibly funny. I have these people right here on my screen, 3 of them right here, just for these example. I don't know if any one of these people is a comedian, or an actor, or a theoretical physicist, or some guy who stays at home and lives with his parents, or some guy who fixes cars for a living, or a bus driver, or a garbage man. I don't know what they do. But it doesn't matter. When I get to know them, it opens up my eyes and my mind to a world that I didn't know that well. If I meet somebody who's a garbage man, you'd be surprised. You have this idea of what they do on a daily basis. Is that really the case? Do they? Because they're picking up your garbage. What did they think about? Like when I worked at a theater, you would constantly make fun of people because you're a teenager and you're immature and things of that sort. And so when you're working Thanksgiving Day, and you're like, why are these people coming to see movies Thanksgiving Day? Why aren't they with their families and things of that sort? And you would be like, why are these people coming to watch a movie by themselves? I'd never go watch a movie by myself. Well, you know, it's really not that bad to watch a movie by yourself, but when you're a punk little teenager, you know, making snap decisions on people, you talk about some weird stuff, but you'd also get to see some weird stuff. I remember there's one guy who came in there, and I still remember him to this day because the dude had biceps that were bigger than the rest of his body. Like, he had a normal sized body, and then his biceps were like 4 or 5 times the size of a person's leg. It was so weird. And you just get to see different people, and you know, if that's what made him happy, that's what made him happy. I have no problem with that. But when are you ever exposed to that kind of thing on a daily basis? And I'm sure every job has different people that they're exposed to that most people would probably never ever get to see, and different personalities and different points of views, because it's just really amazing when you get to open your eyes like that and just see through a different person's point, you know, different person's eyes for just a few seconds. Just hearing them talk about their day in such a way. So glad you didn't pull Crush. I'm pretty good on power, though. He could probably pull it. But yeah, that's what really brings these games to a life to me, and really makes them worth playing, because as I've mentioned before, eventually with any MMO, you will reach end-game. And by end-game, I mean you'll be max level, you'll go to the raid zones that they come out with, or the content, whatever it is that they come out with for that expansion, and you'll see it all, or at least as much as you could possibly see before you're stuck at a certain point. Because the games, like especially with like Everquest and Everquest 2, they make content for raiding guilds, and then they make content for the Uber raiding guilds, that if you raid every night, every day of the week, and you play for 8 hours a day, you can get some really good loot from the raid zones, and then you can use that loot to make it where your whole raid can now somewhat survive in the Uber raiding zones. You know, like for EverQuest 1, it's Machine's Peak is the Uber place to go to. That's where you're fighting dragons. But beyond having incredibly good loot from other raid zones, you have to have the right tactics, you have to have people who have the right skill level, and usually the only people who have that skill level are people who play massive amounts of time on the game. And so it's not something that your average gamer is ever going to get to go to, even if he wants to. You know, it's just he doesn't have the skill level, and the guilds wouldn't take him regardless, even if he had the loot, you know, the equipment to do it. So eventually you're going to reach the peak, whatever the peak is for your specific style of play, and there's not anything else you'll ever be able to get to go to. And then you're done, basically. There's nothing for you to do that's any different. You're just constantly doing like the daily quest and getting some gems so you can get a little bit better armor, but even that will only keep you busy for, you know, an hour or two every day when you log on, and it gets repetitive, and you're kind of like, okay, I'm getting a little tired of this and stuff like that. And the only thing that keeps it fresh for me was the people. Like when I log on and I'm like, hey guys, and I'm talking to my guild and just saying, you know, morning or something like that, and I get to talk to them, I get to see what they're doing that day. You know, that part never gets repetitive. That part keeps me logging on those days where I'm like, you know, do I really want to go do another daily? I don't really need that gem. But maybe with the next expansion, they may add something interesting I can buy with it. Maybe, you know, possibly. It's not even a sure thing. So should I really log on? But then I think about the guys and the girls that I'm talking to in my guild, and I'm like, yeah, I'll log on just to see what they're doing, just to see how they're doing, just to talk to them for a few minutes. Maybe then I'll log back off, but, you know, I want to see them. I want to talk to them. And that is ultimately what I think MMOs are all about, is making that connection with other people. A lot of people kind of lose that with some of the new MMOs out there. They think, you know, it's about grouping with other people, but not really getting to know them. A lot of the MMOs I've seen lately, their chat bars and their tells and things of that sort are really not second nature, but like second fiddle. They're not refined enough, in my opinion, to really promote people to conversate, you know, and have really detailed interaction with one another and get to know one another. And a lot of the questing is made so that you can do it by yourself, so that there's no real reason to, like in this one, I've mentioned it many times before, because it's one of the aspects that I feel is really overlooked in a lot of MMOs, is that it's constantly forcing you in all these little tiny ways to group. You know, it doesn't do like one big thing that says this is why you have to group. Everything about this game screams group. You know, you can solo, but not very well. You can earn experience, just not very easily. If you die, you lose a lot of experience, and so it doesn't really promote you to solo by yourself. If you solo, you can't kill names for the most part. I mean, Necros are kind of one of the weird classes that are able to do that, but most of the other classes won't be able to take on a named, even if it is a level range that they're normally able to do. Rogue is now tank. Even if it is a level range that they're normally able to do, you can't take on a name because names are usually like 2 or 3 times stronger than their level suggests they are. They have a lot more hit points, and they usually have something special about them. They have like a backstab or spell, or they have like 2 other creatures with them that are linked together, and you have to break it and attack all 3 at the same time somehow, and it's usually a lot more difficult. So you're not going to get really good loot if you don't, you know, group and go to these dungeons. Whereas in like Everquest 2, they made it where you can do quests by yourself, and the quest loot, the items that you get as a reward, are usually better than anything you're going to get within that zone. So there's really no incentive to say, hey, you should anyways, if you want to get decent loot, go and group with other people and be in this zone and be in this dungeon and try to kill that name, to camp that name for a little while, and hopefully get that. And so, like I said, it's just a whole bunch of little things driving you in the right direction, or at least the direction that I think is the way to go for an MMO. But like, I played Dark Ages of Camelot, I played WoW, I played, you know, a number. Oh wait, hold on a second, she's about to die. Heal. She takes hits so hard. 32 to 48 on her health with just 1 heal, so she has very few hit points. Hate it when my enchanter gets hurt. Stop getting hurt. She's still learning her class, so it's not that I'm mad at her at all. I'd never get mad at enchanters for getting hurt. I just don't like them dying because they're so crucial to the group. And I kind of feel bad too, because with most classes, when I need to heal them, I feel that if they're not the main tank or the secondary tank, they're kind of stealing power that the tank should have otherwise gotten in the form of heals, which, you know, is kind of a weird way to look at it. But if you have a decent tank and you're in a group, I remember in like Solus B, I would be in a group, and literally for like 4 hours, the only person I would ever heal would be the tank. So when I have to actually heal somebody else, train dual wield at level 13. When I actually had to heal somebody else, it just seemed out of place. You know, it seemed like, what are you doing wrong? Because for the last 4 hours, I haven't had to heal you once, and now I'm having to heal you now. So you must have done something different that you shouldn't have done. And so it's a little weird to look at it that way. But at the same time, well, hold on a second. I am pretty good on power. I'm at 80%. I'm gonna ding 13. Train meditate, if anything. I don't really know what level the paladins get meditate at. I think the casters get it at level 8. They may get it at like level 12 or 14. Can someone pacify the room, please? Yeah, I can do that. Go ahead. Do the Legionnaire, and do the Emissary. And then I'll do Lord Darnish, because I'm not quite sure if mine will take on him. Now, I don't know how much his axe goes for to other players, but to the vendor, it goes for about 5 platinum. Now, it weighs quite a bit of weight to it. It has like, I think it was 7 or 8 pounds to it, so it does have quite a bit. And if you're going to be here for a while and you're going to get 5 or 6 or 7 of them, you're going to be pretty overweight by the time you leave. But 5 platinum, 6 platinum is pretty hard to turn down for one item. I mean, your belts are going to weigh about 2 pounds apiece from the Crush Bone belts, and you're only going to get about 2 platinum for those. So you kind of have to decide for yourself, do you mind the extra weight, or is it alright, you know, taking that so that you can get the extra little money that you may need for your new level spells, because spells are really expensive. As you get higher and higher, they're going to get more and more. I think I just spent like 60 platinum on my level 14 spells. And I got that from selling belts. I actually have them all on me still. There's some right there, and there's the others right there. So about a backpack and a half. And I think I'm missing like 1 or 2, so I'll have to go back and get those as well. But it's pretty expensive. I managed to save up another about 50 platinum from selling some more belts. So you kind of want to do that. I mentioned in the other video that the reason I was selling belts and not turning them in is, for one, once you hit level 10, it's not really efficient to turn them in anymore. You're not really going to make that much experience out of it. It's going to be so small that you probably should have just sold it and made the cash so that you can buy your spells. Unless, of course, you don't need the cash, and then by all means go ahead and turn it in. You'll get the faction at the very least. But I went ahead and sold them so that I could clear up space in my backpacks and get rid of some weight, make enough money so that I could buy spells. But 2, when we go to Unrest, I'm not very familiar with that zone. I remember I went there for maybe like a level or maybe a level and a half way back when I first started playing the game, but I quickly left because it was literally train central. I mean, back then there would be like 150 people in the zone. It was really overcamped, and on the days that it wasn't overcamped, people would just run in there and run out and run in and run out, and it was literally train after train after train after train. And usually with most zones, people who are looking for a group will zone into the entrance, sit at the zone line, and do an OOC saying blah blah blah, looking for a group. Send me a tell if you need me. You couldn't do that in that zone. Like, zone in, there's already a train there. Zone out, wait for the train to disappear, go back in. Oh great, there's another train. You couldn't even get into the zone to do your OOC saying you were looking for a group because the trains were so bad. And if you were able to get in, you weren't able to stay in for very long before you had to constantly zone out, zone in, zone out, zone in. And back in the day, I was still using dial-up as my connection. And it would take like 5 minutes to zone. And so any place that made me have to zone out, zone in, zone out, zone in, just doing that 4 or 5 times, that was like half an hour of me staring at a load-in screen, waiting for my guy to appear on the other side, who could, in the meantime, because your guy would zone in, and then your computer would have to catch up with the connection, and you could possibly be dead by the time your computer caught up with the fact that you had zoned in like a minute and a half ago. And that happened plenty of times to me in that zone, and before long I was just like, it's not worth it. I keep dying. When I die, it's incredibly hard just to get my corpse back, because even though it's at the zone line, it's incredibly hard to get my corpse back because they keep training over and over and over again, and it takes so long to zone. So I don't know if there's. Hold on a second. Yeah, you never stop chopping orcs long enough to go. Oh no, I didn't realize you didn't have med. Oh, that's what he wanted to do when he was saying he was going to leave. He was going to go get his meditation. But yeah, I was just saying that in Unrest, I don't know if there's anything people want, like the belts. There's obviously names in the zone, and I'm sure they drop loot that people will buy. But like I was saying before, when you're in those zones, especially on this server, if somebody needs that item, usually, and I haven't found a group that hasn't done this yet, but any group that I've been in so far, if you need the item, they just give it to you. You don't even have to random on it. You need that item, you have it. If there's 2 people, well then those 2 people random on it, and whoever wins gets it, and then the next time it drops, the other person will get it. So if you're, obviously that's the way to go, and I enjoy that immensely when people do it that way, as long as they don't take advantage of it, and really kind of penalize everybody else because they're just being greedy. But if you're doing that, you may never even get a chance to random on the loot, which means you're not going to be making any money for maybe 10 or 15 levels. And so you're going to want to build up a little supply of money so that you can actually afford your new spells, because you won't make that much from the loot, from just regular coin that you find on the enemy. They're not going to have enough so that you can buy your 15, 16, 17 platinum just for one spell. So you're going to need some way of actually bringing in cash. And I see from time to time a level 17, level 18, level 19 character come into Crushbone, come into the throne room and go up the stairs, up into the tower, and just pull creature after creature out there and kill them. And they're there for like an hour, I guess, collecting belts and shoulder pads. And then they go out and sell them probably and make a little bit of cash so they can buy their spells. Nothing wrong with doing that. Like I said before, this room isn't always camped. It's not something that has a permanent presence, because you do have to have the right group to come in here. You have to have the right levels. And right now, at level 13, I'm pushing the outer limits of what is acceptable as far as what you can make experience off of. Granted, these creatures are all, blue to even. There's a few still that are yellow, but I haven't seen a red in some time. Most of them are blue. Legionnaires are all blue. Granted, they're dark blue, not light blue. But yeah, at level 14, I'm going to leave this place and go and check out Everquest. I'm looking forward to that, so that's going to be pretty sweet. Hopefully, the groups are going to be pretty plentiful there. I'm already 2 bubbles in, so it shouldn't take too much longer to get the other 3 bubbles, especially at this rate. It's about, I don't know, about 20-30 minutes per bubble here, which is, at my level, pretty decent. Maybe about an hour at the wall per bubble, because it's a little slower out there. About 60% of the kills that you have at the wall at this level will be green, and you're not going to get experience, which is why it's a little slower. You're still killing at a fast rate. You're just not making much experience off of the kills, because 60% of them won't give you anything, and the ones that are giving you something are giving you pretty low amount. I mean, they're not going to be evens or yellows out there, unless of course you're pulling the throne room. And if you're pulling the throne room, you might as well move into it, because you're never going to be able to keep up with it, even if you're in the inside. So you might as well be on the inside, get those higher level creatures, more constant pulls, and let the people who are lower level hunt at the wall, because you can go to the wall at probably around level 5, level 6, depending on the class that you're at. So let the lower level people have a good spot like that, make that experience really, really fast, because it is good for certain class or certain levels, and then you move to a better spot. Wonder how the dwarf, yeah, someone looted, only worth vendoring, probably. I really need to get going, guys. This is the axe right here I was talking about 5, 6, 7 platinum a piece, depending on your charisma. Good pet weapon too. Go ahead and get these shoulder pads. Get this oracle. Nah, I'm not gonna loot that. Now remember, the items in here may not be good to you. The gloves, the shoulder pads, the tunics and stuff that drop. The tunics that drop over here and at the wall are worth about a platinum. So you can pick them up. They do weigh quite a bit of weight to them, but you can pick them up and sell them to a vendor, or you can be kind of nice, and this is what I was doing earlier. I would take it back out to the newbie area, sit at one of the orc lifts or one of the low-level lifts, and say just giving it away. And within like 5 minutes, you've given it all to all these low levels. And they greatly appreciate it, because it may not seem like a lot to you, but that may be the only item they have on their slot. And it kind of helps make them feel like they're getting a little bit better. It does help their character grow faster, because they can take on creatures they normally wouldn't. And it gives them the right mindset from the very beginning. I don't know how many people I have found that just go around and are just constantly nice to people. They're just tossing buffs out to people free. They're just constantly giving items away that they've upgraded themselves to other low-level people. They could sell that to a vendor. They could sell it on the broker or the market or something like that, but they're not. They're just giving it away. And that really is one of the signs that this server is different from others, is the fact that so many people are nice. I hate to put a game down, and I wouldn't put WoW down, because it's a fun game, and it's great with a lot of qualities. But some of the people that I've met in that game can be incredibly rude, and usually it's because of their age. They're usually, and I give people slack, because at that age I was incredibly immature, and I made stupid mistakes, and did things that I never would do as an adult. And so I give people slack on that, and understand that, hey, when you're a little younger, and sometimes not even the age, sometimes just your immaturity level. When you're a little bit more immature, you do things that you later look back on and be like, oh, I can't believe I did that. But yeah, you'll meet people in that game that's just not enjoyable to be around. So we're losing our main tank. I need to go train, be back in a few minutes, guys. So we're losing both of our guys. our rogue as well. So what are we doing? Are we leaving the room? No, we got another guy right here. He may not be as high, but it's alright, we can take him. Rosala is leader, there we go. Cool, so we're not going to miss a beat, hopefully. Let me go ahead and pacify the emissary. He can get the legionnaire. Let's see how well he can tank. Every tank is going to be a little different, as I said before, and as a healer, you're going to have to see just how well they do, how much damage they take, how quickly. I've had tanks that require almost no healing the entire time they're with me, and then I've had other tanks that require constant healing, so much so that you almost never get to sit down. So it is, it's pretty different. I mean, it's a lot of factors, not just level, but gear. You can be a lower level and still tank better than a higher level one. You can be a higher level and tank, just uber because of your gear and your level combination, or the fact that you know what you're doing and you don't open yourself up to, bad fights and things like that. So if you're a great puller and you're constantly pulling one creature at a time, the healer may only have to toss you a heal every once in a while versus pulling 3 or 4 creatures at one time. That may make you very popular in a situation where there's not a lot of pulls to be had, not a lot of creatures because the zone's camped. And I remember situations like that in Lower Guk. Oh great, this is getting out of hand a little bit. I remember the situations like that in Lower... Oh great, hold on a second. Where, the whole zone would be camped big time, and as a puller you'd be running around just looking, just waiting for something to spawn so you could loot it real quick. And if you ever got lucky enough to be running by a room where it spawned and people weren't paying attention, you were able to go ahead and grab, 4 or 5 creatures. You knew that ideally you would love to break that up, and you could probably pull just 1 creature out of that room with your skill, but if you did, you knew by the time you got back, the other 3 would be gone. And your team wants that experience, and they have full power, and they've been full power for a long time, and you knew you'd have time to recuperate in between fights, and so you would grab him. It's cool. I'll come back later if the spot opens. I am close to being out of power here, guys. Keep my enchanter alive as much as possible. This is not going too hot. Not doing near as much damage without our rogue. And I am going to be out of power here. Run. Train to zone, baby. Train to zone. Oh, man. This is a deadly one, too. Oh, man, our tank is booking it. Oh, there goes our enchanter. I hate when that happens. Oh, she might... No. Close. That sucks. Hate causing her to die. Certain classes just get me. I don't like doing that. There's almost nobody here, though, so we might go back out to the wall, unfortunately. So we're probably, I'm probably going to go ahead and end the episode here, simply for the fact that we're going to have to wait for Enchanter to get back, and I'm sure a couple people will probably decide that this is a perfect time for them to leave or go back to town to sell. So there's going to be a little bit of delay. Every time you have issues like this, especially when you zone, expect the fact that some people will take it as an opportunity to leave, or they take it as a sign that they probably should get out now before things get really bad. Just some people don't want to risk it. They don't want to put the effort in to a group that doesn't necessarily allow them to make the experience back. For me, I don't mind doing it because some of the greatest times I ever had were from situations that went kind of sideways. It's the unexpected is what drives me in these kind of games. I mean, I can play safe all I want in the single player mode. It's when I get other people in there that it kind of forces you to do things because of their play styles. Maybe they're quick and maybe they like to jump right into the action. It forces you to do it as well, and so you actually get to experience things that way, which you would normally have never played it that way. So I don't know, but I like it, and you guys will have to let me know what your opinions are on the subject. Whether you find grouping with different people's playstyle enjoyable, or do you try to seek out people with the same playstyle? But we're going to go ahead and end the episode here, guys. And if you like these, please hit the like button, subscribe. Definitely leave comments down below. I'd love to hear back from you. And I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next episode.